In this lesson, you're going to learn how layers work in InDesign. You're going to first learn that layers help you create multiple versions of the same document and also help you manage objects on the layer. To work with layers, we're going to open a document from the sample file. Go to File, Open, and the document is the Flyer with Layers folder. So we'll go into Section 1, Flyers with Layers, Flyer with Layers, and open the document. I'm going to go ahead and update the links and press close. The Layers panel is in the Advanced Workspace that we've been working with here on the right-hand side. If I open it, you'll see that at the very left of the panel, in this column, there are some eye icons. These icons indicate to you what is currently visible on the document. Now, everything on this flyer has its own layer. I have a layer for animals, layer for headers, layer for text, and a layer for the sidebars. Layers can be really valuable when you want to try a different version of the same document. So for instance, if I want to see a different header that I've created on a different layer, the eye icon indicates which one is visible. I can show or hide it by clicking on the eye icon. So I'm going to click on this eye to make it not visible, and click on header 2 to make it visible. I'll actually hide everything with a number 1 and show you only the things with a number 2. You can see that everything with a number 2 is visible. I actually like header 1 better, text 1 better, and the rest of it can stay the same for now. So different layers allow us to do a lot of different things. Again, we have different versions of the same document. I can also lock certain layers if I don't want anyone to mess with the layer by clicking on the square next to the eye to reveal a lock with that layer. So I like this text, so I'm going to lock the text. Now let's make a new layer to see how it works with layers a little bit more and to manage and delete new ones. So in the options menu for the layer panel, I'm going to choose new layer. And we're going to name it background. The color that you see only indicates what the layer will be marked as in the layer panel. It's not going to fill the background with orange. On the layer, you can decide whether it's visible or not, whether to print the layer or not, and you have other options. But I'm going to leave it as is and press OK. Now with the layer selected, we'll put something on the background. I actually want a fill color to fill the entire page. To do that, I'm going to go back to the File menu, and I'm going to look at the document setup. So I'm going to go here to Document Setup. In the document setup, there is an area at the bottom for bleeds and slugs. We'll have to expand it. There it is, and I'm going to move it up so you can see it. You'll typically only use bleeds or slugs if you're working with an outside printing service. A bleed is what you want in this case because I want to put a rectangle that's filled with color that's going to fill the entire page. You'll need it to bleed or let it extend past the edge of the page short distance. Typically, you'll use about 1/8 of an inch for a bleed. So I'm going to put 0.125, and you can see that it's locked. So all of these are going to change at the same time. So if I press tab, you can see that they've all changed. They're all locked. So all sides, top, bottom, inside, and outside, are all 0.125. This one is detached. Detached means that these are not locked together, so I can change the slug differently. We're going to look at the slug now. Though we don't really have a reason for it, we're going to use it just so that we can see what it does. So on the bottom, I'm going to put a 4-inch slug. It will only change the bottom because the link is detached, and press enter. You can see the slug area going around the document. It's marked with red guidelines around the outside. The slug area that I added at the bottom is indicated with blue lines. In the slug area, you can leave notes by creating a type frame by clicking on the type tool and dragging a frame into the slug. In here, I could leave notes for someone so that when they pick up the document, they know what to do. Or if I was working on this document for a client, I could leave notes down there as well to let them know what was going on with the document. I can decide whether I want this part to show when I print. By default, it does not print. The bleed area is going to help me on the background now to create a background color. Back to the select tool. Using the rectangle tool, I'll position my starting point at the right at the corner of the bleed area and drag the rectangle so it extends past the page. I'm going to zoom out just a little, so Command minus. Go to my rectangle tool. I'm going to start here. I'm going to drag till it extends to the other side. Now I'm going to fill it with color. We can choose colors from the swatches, or there's also a tool called the eyedropper, which is right here. This tool allows me to sample or pick up other colors that I've already used on the page. So maybe I want it to be this green color. So I'm going to simply click on the green. That allows me to match the color I've already used. And I'm going to drop it. Just click on the background. Now, that green's a little intense for my rectangle. So if you recall in earlier lessons, I can change the opacity. So I'm going to bring that down a bit so that the contrast is better and that so the type of for the background is easier to read. So the opacity is right up here. And I'm going to just bring it down just a little so that everything's a little easier to read. You want to be careful with background images that have type over them. If you do anything with a texture or when the color doesn't have enough contrast, it's going to be hard to read. So I like the color a little bit better. I'm not wild about this banner on the side though. So I'm going to go back to my layers and I'm going to actually pick sidebar 3 and make sidebar 2 not visible. I like this one because it's not filled with that gold box. You can actually merge several layers into one if I'm certain that I like them. I'm going to select the background layer, and then by holding Command down on my keyboard, I'm going to select the animal layer and the sidebar layer. These are the graphic elements that I'm sure about. I might want to go back and change the header and the text later, so I'm going to leave those. Now I'm going to go up to my options menu and I'm going to say merge layers. It's only going to merge those layers that I selected. Now if I click on this arrow next to background, you'll be able to see all of the layers that I merged together. So you can see what's inside each of the layers. So you can change what's in each layer if I want to, or I can rearrange the objects within that layer. So now you know how to use document layers in InDesign. It's very powerful and helps you create multiple versions of the same document.